Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, sports, news, lifestyle, music, everything really, depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an actor who will star in a Christmas movie that will be dropping November 5th on Netflix called Operation Christmas Drop. We're with Xavier de Guzman, aka Xavi. Xavi, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thanks for having me. That's quite an intro that you do, man. That's good.
Thank you. Well, I find it funny because, like I said, I did not plan that when I said a Christmas movie is dropping on Netflix. I did not plan that.
I was like, that was clever. That was well done.
Well, the beginning of the intro, you're not the first person to say like, wow, that was so much. Like you gotta, but you know what? You do it for like 5 years over 300 episodes and it's kind of in the brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Thank you for doing this. I mean, it's like the calm before the storm for the cast and crew of this film. I mean, you know, like Christmas movies have just kind of become bigger and bigger every year, and people kind of want to watch them during the holidays and everything. And I think with everything going on, a lot of Christmas movies are going to be binged a lot this year. It's kind of the calm before the storm for you and the cast right now a little bit. How's that been, kind of preparing for the launch of this?
It feels easier, I guess, because everything's all online.
Yep.
Yeah, like there's no premiere, there's no, you know what I mean? So it's interesting that it's just gonna be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Netflix kind of has a track record of just unbelievable content. We saw it over the quarantine and everything with a lot of amazing shows.
They took it over. Yeah.
I mean, how does it feel to be part of the Netflix family, essentially?
Well, it's fun because like I've done a few other Netflix projects and stuff that have landed on Netflix as well, and I'm currently filming something that's another Netflix project. So it's fun to know that, you know, I guess I'm kind of being recognized within the family, the Netflix family, and hopefully one thing leads to next and I can get something bigger.
Oh, absolutely. So we'll talk about Operation Christmas Drop. Before we get into that, Xavi, I want to know about you specifically as Xavier de Guzman. When did the whole acting bug and the storytelling bug kind of hit you? When did you decide that storytelling, because I call you guys storytellers, that's what you do.
Yeah,
you're a storyteller.
that's right.
When did you decide that was something you want to do?
10 years ago, approximately 10, 11 years ago. Like I'd say then, because that's when I kind of took it seriously. When I joined the union, as that's like when I'd like to gauge things, because I decided to take it seriously. Because before then it was just me fooling around on a stage or, you know, doing open call things for no apparent reason other than I was bored. Right. So yeah, about 10, 11 years ago, made it official, joined the union, and I kind of fell into it. I started in this industry through stunts. And I used my Muay Thai background to pretty much get my face out there, my name out there, and some recognition through that. And then after that, being on set doing stunts, I kind of fell in love with the whole industry in terms of how all the behind the scenes stuff happens. The term they use, movie magic, like you got to see it all put together. Because typically you don't see the before, right? All you just see is the product that's on in the movies or the product that's on TV.
Pretty much.
So seeing all of that come together was something that I just couldn't ignore. And then eventually it got to the point where it's like, oh, I want to do what those guys are doing, the ones that are talking. I want to talk on camera. So started taking classes, and getting some coaching sessions. And yeah, just through that, just kind of dove into it.
Was history.
This was history, yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, this movie, Operation Christmas Drop. I mean, people see the trailer for it. They recognize a lot of people from shows like Vikings, and they recognize a lot of people, and a lot of people also recognize you, and definitely who follow you on social media because you were on one of the most recent seasons of the 100.
Yes. Yeah.
And no, it's always fun when you see a trailer for something. You're like, hey, I recognize him. I recognize her. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of like what you guys do now, right? Episodes here, episodes there. Talk a little bit about this project and talk a little about your character and what we can expect. Was besides full spoilers, but yeah, what can we expect from Operation Christmas Drop, Xavi?
The best thing about and that I love about this film is that it's based on a true story, based on real events. It's set out in Guam, and we actually got to fly out to the island and film there. And so it's going to be a summery Christmas movie. It's going to be a hot Christmas for people, because when we watch Christmas movies, we think snow and big jackets, and so I'm happy with this because it's going to be a little different. And it's based on the supply drops that the Air Force has been doing for about 50 years, I want to say, where around the holidays you have military personnel pool their own resources together so they can get supplies to these remote islands that wouldn't have anything over the holidays. Mm-hmm. So it's wholesome in the sense that we're trying to bring light to something that's already been happening.
Yep.
And hopefully this can, rally together some of the citizens and just be like, hey, I want to help out these people as well. And then if they end up donating or something, but it's shining light on a cause that helps people, right? It's not just your typical feel good Christmas movie where, you have some kind of chemistry between the two leads. It's more about the message that this movie is trying to shine on the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what about your character a little bit in this film?
So my character, he is also in the military, but he took some leave to go help out his family on the islands. So my character's the heartstring tugger, if you will. There's always that moment where it's like, no, we were wrong. We're gonna support. And it's like it's one of those moments where you actually get to see some of the locals, and we use some of the locals in the film as well, and they're in the background. They're also, I play an uncle to her character's name is Ilana, and she's also from Guam, so it's like a fun experience for her as well to break into the industry this way. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with her too, and I want to say she's like 7 years old, and her aspirations are to go to Juilliard. Wow. Okay. You're I like it. Cool. We're going to see if we can make some magic here.
No, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, you mentioned it, like a hot Christmas. I like that. You see the trailer for this. I mean, it just looks breathtaking. Just the way it's shot and everything.
It's all real. It's no green screen. They're flying in the jets. They're actually dropping supplies. Oh my gosh, it's great.
But is it safe to say that like the cinematographers, Xavi are like the unsung heroes of everything? Like, it's insane how they're making things look these days.
Yeah, I wouldn't even just say the cinematographers. Like, it's the entire behind the scenes.
Yep.
It's part of the reason why, especially over the years, my appreciation has grown more and more for like the Academy Awards, BAFTAs, and Emmys, where they actually give recognition to the people behind the scenes. So for this, like, you have your cinematographers doing a great job. You have your director doing a great job. You have your sound. You have your wardrobe. And it's just, and to coin what a lot of people say, it's like, it takes a village.
Yep.
This wouldn't happen without, all the departments working on the same wavelength. So definitely the cinematographers, they do capture everything visual. So for the audience member, that's definitely something that they need to consider when they're watching these things, is that the cinematographer plays an essential role to the experience.
Absolutely. I want to get back to the stuntman stuff and the Muay Thai stuff because I find that kind of interesting right now. Sure. Two-part question for you right here. Part one, what can you share about the stuntman scene and world and industry that we might not know about? And then two, what is the kind of best thing about, in your opinion, doing stunts for a film or a TV? So I want to know something about the stuntman world, and I want to know what's kind of the most rewarding thing about being a stuntman.
The biggest thing, well, I'd say there's two things that I want to try and give light to with the stunt community is especially when there's action sequences and stuff like that, they sell it. If you're watching a fight scene and you're enjoying it, it's the stunt team. If you're seeing, a big fall happen, it's the stunt team, right? And it adds a dimension of realness to what you're watching, because if your main actors do it and they end up getting hurt, and that's the film, that's done, right? So it's so important to give recognition to these actors and these coordinators that choreograph so many intricate moves. You don't really think of it as a big deal, but as simple as you falling back onto the floor is a sequence that needs care. You can't just,
For sure.
oh, we're just going to do it, right? So that's one thing, is every time that you're in the theater and you're going, ooh, majority of the time it's a stunt person that's doing it. And then you have your odd case like Tom Cruise, who does it all.
I was thinking about that though. Remember when he broke his ankle, didn't he?
Yeah. He does everything. He flies everything. He jumps from whatever. And it's so inspiring to see that he's keeping that alive. He's keeping the realness of film alive.
I did want to say too, because I talked to a few other stuntmen before that are on the show. I mean, Extraction with Chris Hemsworth, which was like one of the most insane, craziest movies I've ever seen. Like, that was insane. I'm pretty sure a stuntman directed that film.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure. I gotta look into it. I think a stuntman directed that film. That's why. Have you seen that movie? If you haven't,
I loved it to another degree, because I love Bollywood.
Yeah,
I love Bollywood films, and so that being set in India and seeing some
of those like that car chase scene was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh! And there's the scene where he falls off the roof.
Yes.
And then they're in the street. Yes. And the big thing, like, back to the cinematographers, it was a steady shot, and you follow him from the ceiling. So it's like there's these very quick moments where they're going to be off camera. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, the stuntman's going to fall in. And obviously with wardrobe and everything, you think it's still Chris, but then all of a sudden falls over the edge, camera follows him down, does a little move to the side. So all of a sudden you miss, because it's just very, and then all of a sudden it's Chris, it's back in, and you can see his face. It's like, oh, Chris fell. But it's like, ugh. And then I want to say that it was like, I was trying to count it, but it was like 50 sequences. So a sequence is a step in the choreography. So one punch is a sequence. If I fall back, that's another addition to the sequence. Absolutely. So I'm calling it like punch.
It was like 50, yeah. It was like almost like 50 sequences.
Oh my goodness. And it was
But it just looked, I love that movie was like, I watched that movie and then I stopped and I literally was like, I said it out loud. Like, I was like, that was awesome. Like, I actually said that.
It was Kingsman was, I think, the first non-Asian movie where the cinematographer I found kind of gave life to making it look like a one shot.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, this is where stunt and cinematography go hand in hand, where it's all about the movements of the camera. And lucky enough, when I was working on the 100, we had some of the Game of Thrones stunt coordinator on.
Wow. And
it's like, you just see a different world of how everything just works together. The stunt coordinator's talking with the director talking with the cinematographer, with the director photography, and it's just this beautiful dance, and it takes so long to do, but it's worth it in the stunt world. Like that's also, I guess, another thing that people don't realize is an explosion scene will take an entire day to film.
Yeah, I think people don't realize. Yep, I knew that. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, and it's like it lasts 5 seconds on the screen.
And there's also hype around it too, right? Like when you're making a movie, everyone's saying like 2 days and we're filming that next month, right? Like that happens too, right?
You know it, yeah. And I guess another fun fact about the stunt world that people don't know from the outside is that they're very small. Mm-hmm. They are so tightly woven where it's like, especially in Vancouver, where there's not that many people of color. Mm-hmm. So you'll have the same stunt people working on various projects, and you won't know until like maybe they'll post it on their Instagram after the episode's aired. But it's commonly the same people that cycle through, and it's not just so much that there's lack of representation. It's just that when your stunt team is that good, everybody wants to use you.
Absolutely. What was the coolest thing you got a chance to do stunts on? Are there some projects on the top of your head that you could talk about that were cool to do stunts on?
There was one. It was a music video. This was years ago, and I never saw it. It never came out, but I was in a studio space. It was like 300. I don't know how big it was, but I'm trying to compare it to something. But imagine just an entire hangar of just green. And essentially, yeah, I got the harness on me and it just pulled me back because it was like an explosion that just happened.
Wow.
I wish I got to see some of that, but you know, that's I guess part of the nature of this industry where it's like not everything you do is gonna make it onto the floor.
Oh no, and I think what I'm hearing too is like, you know, my background's in like marketing, communications, and everything, and I dabble in the entertainment industry with the podcasting, and I want to write my own, like I write scripts from time to time. But like what I've noticed too is what's scary too is like you're basically like you shoot a project and then you're waiting for it to come out, right? And then like you don't know if you're gonna get cut out. You don't know what they get. You know what I mean? Like I can't even imagine like what that is like for an actor. You know. Because again, like you got paid, it's a job, right? Like it's a job. You're paying the bills, right? But there's also the artist aspect of it. You want to be in it.
It's not so much about you just got paid, and it's funny because I want to say it was like a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. I went on a rant on Twitter. I still use Twitter. I'm old school like that. And it's under the category of rejection. Us as artists, when we dive into this field, we face so much rejection, and it can get overwhelming to the point where, unfortunately, you've heard the news where people take their lives because of all the pressure. And so, imagine you haven't gotten work for 5 years, or you've been doing this for so long, and then all of a sudden you get your first actor role, and in that time, everybody around you is saying, hey, get another job, do something different. Yeah. And they say it out of a place of love, which is the hard thing, is they tell you to do something else.
You're not in a good place. Let's do something else. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're focused on just doing this, and all of a sudden you get this one break. It's an actor role. And you can't help but need to tell these people like, hey, I'm doing something, right? And then they'll cut that scene, and then it's like you don't have anything to show. That's the worst part, is because we just want that recognition, especially at the early stages, where it's like, we're doing this because we love it and we can make a living, and you just need to trust us that we're gonna do it and make it.
But you're also using like people, obviously, like your job, like I know that, again, this is kind of with the explosion, right? Like, well, 2 days we're doing the explosion. Like I know, like your job is to audition.
Yeah.
Like that's what you do. Like people that don't realize like what an actor has to do, an actor auditions. That's what you do. You make self-tapes. That's the job.
Yeah.
Then you get a job for 4 months, and then boom, you're back to auditioning. You know what I mean? So there's that. But like, you want to also like have the stuff you shot like show up, so you can kind of like have the demo or show people like what you've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's interesting for sure. But Xavi, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
No, thank you for having me.
So Operation Christmas drop November 5th on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Hot Christmas, right?
Hot Christmas. So excited for that.
Absolutely. They're gonna check that out. And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Yeah, check me out on all the platforms at xdeguz, XDEGUZ. And also a fun little one that I want to plug, at Play On 2013. Take a look at that, the charity that I started, and hopefully I just want to spread awareness for that.
Absolutely, man. Well, seriously, thank you so much for doing this. Everyone's excited to see the film, and all the best for the upcoming projects, man. This was awesome to chat with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, you can check out Xavi in Operation Christmas Drop, which is dropping on Netflix November 5th. And until next time, this is Xavi and BD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.